Hey Facebook, hey Facebook. Hello, hello, hello. If my live happens to go out because of my crappy internet, I will get back on my phone and do this. But today I want to talk about grief, really quick. And if you don't know, now you know. I am Kristen Nicole Mann, and I am a plethora of things. And today I really wanted to talk about grief because it is, if you don't know, July is actually Parent Bereavement Month, I believe. That's what they call it. Parent Bereavement Month, the month of July. And so, with that being said, being that these past couple of years, there has been tons of just changes, transformations, transitions, a lot of things going on. And I know that there also has been a lot of people who have lost various family members. They've lost their parents. Some of them have lost one. Some of them have lost both of them. And I wanted to get on and talk about this a little bit because I am a person that has dealt with grief. Well, first, I've dealt with death, and I've dealt with tons of grief in different ways. So, to go down the list, grief I've dealt with in forms of not only death, but I've had abortion, I've had friendships I've lost, I've had family relationships that just ceased, that and they're still alive. I've had extremely horrible breakups in relationships with guys. All types of grief. And I believe, like, I wanted to get on here today because I believe that, there are a lot of people that want to be healed, and they want to, they're searching for it, and they don't really know what's wrong with them, or they feel like there's just something there. Like, you ever felt like there's just something there where, you know, I feel a little off today. Like, let's be real. This is a real conversation. Like, you wake up, you kind of like, you do the same things. You go through your routine, your morning routine. Maybe you say you get up and first thing you say your prayers. That's what I do. And then, you go journal, you go do all these things, but you still don't feel right. Like, you still feel like there's some things that I need to get from off of me, get from out of me. Like, there's something there. So when it comes to grief, it can come out in all different ways depending on who you are. If you are an emotional person, you might show your grief, and it may be obvious. If you're not an emotional person, you might be doing certain things, activities, not activities, but certain manners, like being snappy. You just mad, you're mad, you don't know what you're mad at. You don't really feel like being bothered. You want to stay silent. You don't want to talk about what's going on. These are all things that could happen, potentially happen, if you are dealing with grief and you don't know. And I wanted to get on here and really talk about it because I went through a process where I didn't understand the grieving, what that really meant. And let me pull up the definition too. I didn't understand what grieving meant. I didn't know how to grieve. I didn't really have anyone to talk about it with all the situations that I went through. Definitely didn't have the right resources per se. So I'm just on here to kind of put out here what's on my heart. But I'm going to pull up the grief definition because To give you context, grief means deep sorrow, especially that was caused by someone's death. It means trouble or annoyance. So remember, I just said you might be annoyed. You don't know what's going on. Like, you just annoyed. Like, there's some days I'm still not perfect where I'm like, I'm just annoyed. I miss my dad. I miss this friendship. I miss this, relationship with a family member. I miss all these things. But I'm just like, ugh. So, it comes in like waves, especially when you're dealing with a death. Not just necessarily a death of a family member, but death of just cousins, aunts, uncles, like all these things that we just go through life thinking that it's part of, just normal, and we're not supposed to deal with it. We're not supposed to cry. We go to the services. Some of us couldn't go to services for family members or people that were close to us that have passed. Some of us couldn't go. Some of us couldn't see the person before they pass. So it's been a roller coaster for a lot of people. And when it comes to what I do, I am currently right now participating in an art show for co-victims of victims that got murdered. So it's the family members that are still alive that we have to come up with this creative piece to represent the person that still has to move on with their life. And so with talking with these families, it's, for one, they're wonderful. I mean, strong people. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I don't like saying I couldn't imagine, but when you have someone murdered, or someone killed that you just didn't think that was ever going to happen, that's a whole different level of grief. That's a whole different level of processing. This person was here a couple minutes ago and now they're gone. That's a whole other level of grief versus if someone was sick and you saw the transition and you saw what was going on. So talking to these families helped me understand that everybody processes different, right? Everybody doesn't want to heal as quick as what is on social media. Everybody's like, let's heal, let's do, you gotta go on, you gotta move on, you gotta do this. But when you have like a culture that is pushing you to move past a point without the actual tools, then it becomes like taboo in a sense. Then you become like, you feel like you're isolated. You feel like you're alone. You feel like you shouldn't feel this way. And you're trying to, speed up the process of you healing. And I'm here today. This is not a live that I would usually do, but I'm here today to tell you that you do not have to go at the pace that everyone is telling you or asking you to. When you look at social media, you might feel like people are asking you or telling you, you need to move on. That's not the right answer all the time. The right answer is actually go and stay in the process of becoming healed. Because when you become healed, it's not just a quick, overnight. Like, it's still taking me, it's been 8 years since my dad passed. The number 8 means new beginning, but it still is there. The mourning sometimes is still there. I wake up some days and I'm like, I still can't believe he's not here. Even with people that are alive that I don't talk to no more, it's still a mourning process. It's still a grief that's there because you're like so used to talking to this individual that things changed and you can't call that person up no more. Even with the abortion, a lot of that is going on right now. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of it, but I would not do that ever again. Like I would, in my circumstance, now let's not disregard what everyone is saying as far as, you know, what they're saying. But for me personally, there was a grieving process that I had no clue was going to take place. I thought, you know, wash my hands with it, it's done. I had no clue that all these things were gonna happen afterwards. So my mission now is to help any individual, whether male or female, know that your grief process is your own. It doesn't have to look like what everyone's saying right now. There's a lot of people talking about therapy, there's a lot of people talking about psychology, a lot of people talking. But you have to not isolate yourself, but you have to understand who you are and how you process things, and really tap into the emotions that you're feeling. Because you're gonna feel happy one day, you're gonna feel sad, you're gonna feel mad, and sometimes all those things happen in the same day. Like you could be, you could be happy getting up, and then all of a sudden you feel like poop, you feel like crap. And that's how grieving is. And so there's even grieving when you come to certain people that have dealt with sexual assault, like myself. I didn't recognize that. For one, that's a whole process, because I didn't recognize that I was actually assaulted. So the first part is admitting or understanding what happened. It's just like death. What happened? This person was here, now they're not. Or this person took a piece of me, I didn't have, like, there was no consent, now they're gone. Or now the piece of me is gone. And that, you know, when you go through things like sexual assault and molestation and all of those things, I don't call myself an expert in knowing everything, but I know with personally my situation, that was another grief that process that I just didn't understand. And I knew that I didn't feel right. I knew that, you know, these things, you always gotta have nets. These things that I was feeling on the inside was just weird. Like, I can't describe it to you. You asked me a question, I don't know how to explain this. So when, sorry. So when, I don't know how this got in here. Now when I'm talking. So, that's just a distraction. So when you are dealing with this all by yourself, and people are asking you like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What can I do? How can I help you? It's like sometimes on the opposite side, I'm gonna help somebody that's helping someone grieve, whether you're a friend, whether you're a boyfriend, husband, whatever the case may be, family member. When you ask the question, what's wrong? Don't expect the person to know automatically. Don't expect the person to be like, this is what's wrong with me. I don't, Like, they're not sometimes going to have the language. They're not going to have the terms. They're not really going to know what's wrong. So when you ask, just make sure that your heart is guarded. You are a person that won't take it personal. Remove your emotions on your part and understand that this is a touchy topic. I just now learned terms that if I would have known back then with grieving with different situations, then I would have been able to articulate to someone that was asking me what's wrong. But when you ask what's wrong when someone's grieving, sometimes it's a trigger. It kind of sends them in a spiral of like, I don't want to talk right now. And they may snap at you, and they may feel like you're their enemy. But we have a lot of people walking around that have done that to people that they love, and the people have taken it personally and just completely like it just went wrong. It went left. So, again, July is National Parent Bereavement Month. I believe that's what I'm gonna look it up real quick to see if I'm saying it right, because I had no idea until this month. Um, National Bereaved Parents Month. A- Awareness Month. So it's recognized every year in July. It is dedicated to raising awareness about the grief parents go through after the unfortunate loss of a child, and the kind of support needed to overcome this unimaginable grief. So, correct me. Grief is grief. Let me first say that. Grief is grief. But when you lose a child, again, that's a whole other level of grief that you have to process. All kinds of, hi Latoya, all kinds of grief are different. So you want to split up and not look at it from the outside. If you're an outsider and say you're not dealing with this, don't clump them all together. Dealing with grief when you're losing a child is different. Dealing with grief when you're losing a parent is different. Dealing with grief when you're losing a friendship is different. Dealing with grief losing a boyfriend, like, let's talk about that. Like, people just expect you to just move on. What if you was with them for a long time? What if nothing bad happened? Let's just say it's a scenario where nothing bad happened, it just didn't work out. You're expected to just move on and not deal with the process. That's why we have a whole bunch of people hopping in relationships with other people, and they haven't even closed the door to the last one because they didn't go through that process. It's still a loss because that relationship is now severed. And so when you have these different forms of grief, make sure that you're doing the necessary work to combat that. And I don't want to say combat, because grief, honestly, to me, it never feels like it goes away. But there's a way that there's balance. There's balance to it. You don't want to be grieving to the point where you are dysfunctional. You are displacing your anger on a person. You don't want to displace your anger on someone that actually wants to take care of you in a sense, or nurture you through your pain. So all these sets of different griefs, I'm probably going to continue to talk about, because I've had friendship grief. Let's talk about that. Like, when you lose friends, it's not always easy to move on. Like, I'm not going to lie. I've had some great friendships throughout my life, but when God says you put you in a new season, and again, if nothing bad happened, let's just say, because everybody always want to talk about the negative, sometimes y'all just change and the friendship is over. No beef, no negativity. It's just sometimes it's over. That's a grieving process. Even when you transition into a career or something new, it's always going to be a grieving process that you're mentally going through. Now, you might physically go through it as well. Using one person to get over another isn't dealing with loss. No, it's not. That's the worst thing that I see people still do. I used to do that when I was thinking that I knew everything. That's the worst thing to do. When you have lost a person that's alive, we'll put it like that, and you try, even, you know what? I'm going to finish this thought. When you lost a person that's alive, we sometimes think we can replace that person, or we can replace, with these other groups of people, what we had with the other person. No. Because everybody's different. Everybody has a different personality. Everybody has a different purpose for being in your life. Everybody's different. So when it comes to, using other people to replace, that's like going to set you back. That's going to set you back. Even I find, now this might be hard for people to hear, but there's sometimes when I talk to mothers, with the work that I do, they said they feel like they wanted to replace the child that they lost with another child. And they describe it, and it's understandable, but it's like you chasing something to fill that void. And for me, the ultimate void filler is God and knowing Christ, like for real, because I cannot have been sitting here talking to you all, having an abortion, going through domestic violence, losing my father the same year that I had my son. I could not be talking to you all without Christ. Like, everybody's talking about God, but you don't know what God they're talking about. I'm talking about Christ. That's where I found my identity. That's where I found my forgiveness. That's where I was able to forgive myself. That was when I was able to forgive the other people involved, because I got sexually assaulted because of someone that I thought I was friends with. I got in a domestic violence situation because it was someone that I thought I was friends with. So not only did I lose pieces of myself in these situations, I also lost friendships that I thought that I was having. So that's a whole grieving process that you just never really look for. You never think, like, in a million years, like, you'll be grieving friendships and all these other things. So I think the conversation around, especially abortion right now, if we're going to talk about it, we need to talk about all of it, because what it's doing is it's creating this one-sided opinion about how women deal with that situation. There's all different stories, so we all of it has to be out there. There's only been one side. My side was, I was a Christian. I was a believer. I was going to church every day. I didn't have a bad relationship with my man. I didn't have a bad, like, nothing bad was going on. All I wanted was success. And that, I didn't think I was chasing that. But then when I actually went through to do the necessary thing to enjoy my success, it put a whole grieving process on me that I didn't even know that was existent. So you want to be careful to not judge. Don't judge people for how they may respond to you in a certain day. They just might not feel good, and you got to ask questions. Don't judge. Don't Bible thump. But if you are a believer like myself, I'm going to say this part first. If you're a believer like myself, it is up to us to love the individuals and give them the love of Christ that we know. And then if you're not a believer, you still can talk to someone. My inbox is always open as far as grief. I'm not a person that tries to force anybody to believe nothing. I just know what it did for my life, and that's how I choose to operate. But my inbox is open to anyone. I'm not going to be judgmental, but I just wanted to talk about grief today, and I did make the correction. So if anyone comments and they're like, I got the whole awareness month wrong. Again, I'm going to repeat it. Bereaved Parents Awareness Month is recognized every year in July. It is dedicated to raising awareness about the grief parents go through after the unfortunate loss of a child and the kind of support needed to overcome this unimaginable grief. Okay? So I will get back on, maybe talk about some other forms of grief, and I hope that you all learned something. I hope that you was able to receive my heart, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.